Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, former NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, and welcome to the new 1631 Digital News Studio. You know, some people say, no news is good news. Well, I say to those people, you've never read 1631digitalnews.com. Go to 1631digitalnews.com to get your latest news, sports, music, and entertainment. And maybe even listen to your favorite podcast, Huddle Up with Gus. Check it out today at www.1631digitalnews.com.
Huddle Up with Gus is brought to you by Vegas Sports Advantage. Clients of Vegas Sports Advantage are winning big in 2021, and you can be a part of the winning too. As of June 1st, $100 bettors are up $3,700. $500 bettors are up $18,500, and $1,000 bettors are up $37,000, and $5,000 bettors are up $185,000. Become a client today by clicking the link in the description below and use promo code HUDDLEUP to take 25% off your package today, thanks to our partnership.
Welcome to what surely will be a doozy of a matchup right here, sports fans. Whether your game is on the gridiron, at the diamond, or on the links, we can only say, welcome to this week's Huddle Up with Gus. 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, passion for sports, has taken him on the field and behind the benches, playing for 7 NFL franchises with 114 TDs under his belt. Gus knows who the players are and how the games are won.
It's not every day you get to hang out with an NFL quarterback, huh?
Okay, sports fans, from the decked out and plush 1631 digital studios, it's kickoff time. So snap your chin straps on and get ready to huddle up with Gus.
Strange variety, but again, a big play.
Hey, I appreciate everyone joining me on Huddle Up with Gus with Super Event. I'm excited. We got Amani Toomer coming on. So, as you guys know, Amani played at Michigan, one of the best receivers ever to come out of Michigan. Was drafted by the New York Giants. Won a Super Bowl in, let me see, it's 2007. He just had an amazing career, one of the best receivers ever to play for the Giants. Now he's doing some amazing stuff, trying to, I think his entrepreneurial side's coming out in him, but I'm excited to hear his story growing up out in Berkeley, California. And, he's just one of the guys that I think everybody always likes. He has a good attitude, good temperament, and he even ran a marathon. So I know I could never do that, but most receivers probably could. And you probably have to run all day against the DBs in the NFL. So Amani will be coming on. Our man Dan Cisco's helping him. So I think we'll see him on here in a second. But I don't know about you guys. What did you guys think of the game last night? I mean, I kind of turned it off early. And then, look up in the morning and hear Baltimore came back, which was amazing. Lamar Jackson just had an amazing game. I think he completed 86% of his passes. I don't know if I ever did that in practice, so that was pretty amazing. So, it's just amazing. The NFL every week gives us excitement. This week, I think the excitement was how poor all the kickers did. We had more missed field goals and extra points this week than one can imagine. There probably should have been a lot of teams that should have won if they would have made field goals, but they didn't. So there he is.
All right.
Are you all right?
But yeah, I'm really glad to be on here with you, Gus, and this is going to be great. Being able to interact with the fans, I'm super excited.
Well, I'll just let you know right now, Monty, it only took you half the time to get on as Vince Papale did, and he's twice our age. So, and I think that having you on, I was explaining to all the people that are on about, your career, everything you've been through, giving you a little intro. But I wanted to thank you for coming on Huddle Up with Gus, our partners with the NFL alumni, and also now Super, which is this new format lets us interact with fans. It's pretty cool. But we always kind of start back at the beginning on Huddle Up, where you grew up. I know you're from California. And I want to get into a little bit of that story with you. My boys have a great picture that we found of you back at De La Salle. Yeah. So
hair.
Yeah. Wait, where is it? Gunnar Gabe have it. There you go. So did you always 18 was always your number? Why was 18 your number?
Well, I used to love Tim Brown. Like, he was my favorite player growing up. He went to Notre Dame, and I thought I was going to go to Notre Dame and be the next Tim Brown. But then I just didn't want to be exactly like him. So instead of 81, which was his number at Notre Dame and his number with the Raiders, I switched it around and I was 18. And it's just it just stuck. It's just something that I always just identified with. And I don't know. It's one of those things. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But
right.
It was, the number meant a lot to me, but it was just something that I just, like a good pair of shoes. Once you put it on, it just kind of sticks,
Yeah. That's how I had number 12, was because of Terry Bradshaw. That was always my guy growing up.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was my guy. So, we had a lot of good quarterbacks out of Pittsburgh, but I mean, you had a lot of incredible people come out of California. And were you a 49ers fan, or you were a Raiders fan, huh?
No, I was a 49ers fan.
You were 49ers.
Yeah, because as I was growing up, I lived in Berkeley, which is right by Oakland.
Right.
But the Raiders left.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So once the Raiders left, everybody in Oakland was like, we're Niners fans. And then the Niners were so good because they had, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, Wendell Tyler. They had Bill Ring. They had Freddie Solomon. I mean, it was Joe Montana.
No, it was one after another.
Oh, it was one of the, and then my cousin played for them, Steve Wallace. So
yeah,
there was just a lot of people that came through there, and it was like the center of the football universe in my very formative years, because every year it was the Niners versus the Cowboys, or the Niners versus I guess the Rams, like all these teams. And it was just such good football back in the 80s, even though looking back on it, they just didn't have the creativity that they have now. I mean, it's amazing watching football now. And I'm just thinking, man, Gus, we were just a little too early. I mean,
oh my gosh,
think of the completion percentages now compared to when we were playing. I mean, if you're not over 70%, 60, 65%, you're considered inaccurate because all these screen passes they're throwing.
Well, and I was saying, look at Lamar Jackson last night. He completed 86% of his passes and threw for over 400 yards.
He threw 31 times too. That's the thing about it.
Well, and I think that too, back in the day, we were all kind of big play action. There wasn't a whole ton of get the ball out. Not when we first started, not when I was with the Skins and we were playing against, Then I got to the Rams, like in the mid 2000s, those quick screens and everything started going a little more.
Yeah.
They became more viable, and now it's all shotgun. I mean, we were never in shotgun.
Yeah.
Unless it was third and long.
Shotgun was like, you'd run the ball for the first two downs, right? And then, well, at least the Giants would. We'd run the ball for the first two downs. We'd be third and long, and then all of a sudden they put in this package, and we'd throw. But other than that, like we were a running team. If you threw the ball 20 times a game, you were just an average NFL team. Now, if you threw the ball 30 to 40 times a game back when I was growing up, that means you were a passing team. But now everybody's throwing the ball plus 30 times a game, and it's way more of a passing league. And it's it's more exciting to watch as well.
Oh, I agree. Back in the day in the 80s when they, the big thing was the Bears defense and giving up 3 points. I mean, yeah, I get it. Defense wins championships, but it's not that much fun to watch a team go 3 and out and punt. You know what I'm saying? Like it is much more fun to see, and you have to think that it has something to do with fantasy football.
Absolutely.
It's got and betting.
betting and just, it is exciting to watch, the best athletes in the world, which are the receivers by far, making spectacular plays down the field. Like, that is what you want to see. You don't want to see 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I mean, that's just not appealing to as many people as watching guys, do acrobatic stuff, dragging their feet in bounds and catching the ball with one hand. It makes it so much more fun to just like the average person can. You don't have to be a great football fan to love to see great catches, great moves, and the speed and the athleticism that receivers have. It's just not, go ahead.
Did you see that catch the kid from Arizona had more on the
sidelines?
I
didn't see. I didn't. Although you dragged his feet. Yeah, I did see that one. Yeah,
I saw a picture of you doing that with the Giants, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because we were talking, and I watched the game, and I'm like, oh, Amani, like, you guys are so good at that. Like, it's amazing. And if you have a quarterback that can trust you like you had, you can just throw that ball anywhere. It was amazing what you guys can do and the talent you have.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. It looks a lot harder than it really is, because actually the college rule and the pro rule are pretty much the same, in my opinion, like after playing for a while, because you got to get 1 foot down. And then you just kick your other heel or drag your feet, and don't let that second back foot rise up and take that step. Instead of that, you drag your feet along the ground, and it's basically the same as the college rule. Right. And it really bothers me to see receivers not understand that. There's so many catches that are missed because they just don't know these simple techniques that, I mean, we practice it every day, and I wasn't good at it when I got into the league. Like, it wasn't something I was good at, but through repetition and practicing is something I developed throughout my career. So by the time I was, 10 years, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in, I was really good at it, and I wouldn't even think about it. So to me, it's learned. If you get a good wide receiver coach, which I had a couple of them, and Jimmy Robinson and Milt Jackson, and Mike Sullivan. Like, you just got you don't get to the NFL and just stop growing. And if you do, you die. You die on the vine. You always the longevity of playing in the NFL is constantly tweaking your game, constantly getting better, and that's the only way you survive.
I always felt like Chris Carter was like one of the originals to really have that, like, where your both feet are down, he's falling out of bounds, and he still caught the ball and didn't, and I've seen him. I mean, just because I play with the Vikings, I've watched a lot of film on him. Yeah, he was so good at that.
Yeah. I mean, there's some guys that are really, really good at it, and it's just a testament. It's like nobody's born. There's no talent to it, right? It's only repetition and work. There's some things in the NFL that take a lot of talent, like speed. You can't get for that. Hands, way you catch the ball. There's a talent to that, but you can overwork that as well. But catching the ball and dragging your feet, it's just practice. And you can see the guys now that put the time in and really take there's a craft to being a wide receiver, and it's very complicated, and it's very detail oriented. And I just love seeing guys that still, I mean, they're throwing the ball so many times. You could still be a great receiver and not pay that much attention to the details. Yeah. But the guys that do, they just maximize their ability, and they end up playing for a lot longer than maybe their ability even should allow them to.
Right. So if we go back to that picture that we saw from you in high school, you played multiple positions in high school, right?
I played. I was a little bit on defense. I played tight end my rookie year. I played outside linebacker my freshman year. I played outside linebacker my freshman year. I tried to do a lot of things, and just really to figure out what type of player I was. I mean, I was a skinny kid, and I always thought I was going to be a running back. Way too skinny to be a running back. Long and lanky. I was fast and I could catch, but I mean, it took me a while to figure out exactly what position I really was good at.
What other sports did you play in high school?
I played basketball. I played baseball. I ran track. I varsityed in basketball and non-baseball, and I was varsity in track as well.
Do you feel like playing multiple sports helped you as an athlete?
Absolutely. I don't know, because there's movements that you do in football that that you have to kind of get out of the football mind frame to really understand the entire movement. Like when you're going up for a football, you have to understand how to, like, if you'd say like basketball, you got to go up for a rebound. You have to understand how to move your body and block people out and use your body to get in front of other players. And I used to play soccer too. I was a goalie. So when I would jump up and I would use my knee to clear out, I would use my knee to clear out the people that were trying to score goals on me. Yeah. So I would use the same thing in football. I would use my knees to get defensive backs away from me. I would use my elbows and arms. I'd box out. All that stuff helps. And the more of a fluid and complete athlete you are, the better you're going to be when it comes down to, there's going to be a move that you're going to do that you're going to be like, wow, I remember doing this in basketball. That's how this move came about. And you're constantly, kind of inventing your own game. Yeah. And you can't do that if you just play football.
Right. So you were Parade All-American. You were a USA Today All-USA team in high school. So you were mentioning before that you really wanted to go to Notre Dame. How did you get to Michigan then? Well,
when I was coming out, I was a really highly rated guy. I kind of knew that the whole rating system was kind of BS. I just didn't really believe in it. So I was like, look, I was good in high school. Does not mean I'm going to be good in college. I thought I was going to be good, but I just, I wanted to play the averages. So I wanted to go to the best school that I possibly could go to with the best football program.
Yeah.
And a place that I would graduate, because when I was coming out, there was not a lot of black athletes that were actually graduating from college. Right. A lot of them were going, like the whole Pac-10 at the time. I mean, the only place where they graduated athletes was Stanford, and the rest of them, they would give you a scholarship and say, hey, look, we know you're probably not going to graduate in 4 years, so we're going to let you come back afterwards and finish. And I was like, I don't know. That's not a good idea to me.
There's not a lot of guys that probably go back and finish. I mean, to be honest.
No.
And more guys like Chad Johnson, right? They go 2 years of community college or 2 years of school, then they go to Oregon State for 5 months, and then they go to the NFL.
Yeah. So I was like, I didn't want to be a part of that. I wanted to go to a school that I could be proud of. I wanted to go to a school that had that they took their football program seriously. But most importantly, I wanted to go to the best academic school that I could possibly go to. So I tried to go to, I originally wanted to go to Stanford, but for some reason they thought that I wasn't academically strong enough, which I couldn't figure out. So I ended up going to Michigan. It ended up being a better place for me because, if I grew up in the Bay Area, if I would have just stayed in the Bay Area, I don't think I would have really grown as much as going from the Bay Area and the West Coast to the Midwest. To me, that was like a real maturing, getting out of the nest. And it was, seeing a different part of the world, dealing with a lot of different people that I ordinarily wouldn't have. It really,
a little bit of a culture shock, right?
Oh, the culture shock was, it was amazing.
West Coast, San Francisco, then you go to Michigan. That had it. Like I went from Pittsburgh to Tulsa, which wasn't a huge stretch because I grew up in the country.
Yeah.
Still, that was like real cowboys, like boots and hats, and you know what I mean? Like cowboy bars. We didn't have any of that stuff in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. How did you deal with that? Like it was like you read a lot of books, you hear a lot of stories, you watch the TV and all this stuff, and you're thinking, oh, that's fake. And then you go to these places and people actually think this way, and you're like, oh my God, this is real life. People really think this way.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, especially going to Michigan. It was, it was a very strange place because it was such a divided place. Like there was the black players here and the white players played over here, and they only would meet on the field. And it was just the weirdest thing to me.
Yeah.
Like it was so strange. And I still, to this day, it was a very strange place at University of Michigan, because you got Detroit, which is, there's a lot of black players, and then, and all the surrounding areas. And then you get like way out in Jackson, Michigan, and they got players from there all the way from the West Coast, and you're just a West Coast of Michigan. I mean, the West Coast of Michigan. And it's just these cultures colliding. And it was very strange.
When I played for the Lions, you're in Detroit, you're playing in Detroit, and then you go to training camp way up north. I forget the school. It's a little college, and it's in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing out there. It's just a whole different field from Detroit, right?
Yeah.
And you see all these movies, you hear all these things about Detroit, which I loved. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then you go up there, and it was completely, Pittsburgh and Philly are a lot like that. And then you got in the middle in Pennsylvania. It's completely different. Yeah. And that's pretty cool. So you're at Michigan. And your first 2 years, it was kind of like my first 2 years. You really don't do much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you had a few catches, you played a little bit, but then your third year, you really start to take off more. And you're probably feeling more comfortable, more ingrained. What was your third year like, where you said, okay, I feel pretty good about where I am? And why do you think that you became so successful at Michigan?
Well, I think early on, you got to remember when we were coming up, freshmen didn't play. Like everybody redshirted, and it was a big deal for me to even like suit up as a freshman. Like they were like, wow, he's suiting up, wow, he must be really good. And I started my first year, but they were like, we're not going to throw him the ball. Like, no, he's going to be on the field, but he's not getting the ball. And then my second year was more of the same. Like they were just kind of like, nah, they really were. It was more of a like seniors got most of the looks, then juniors, and then it kind of spilled down. And they really had enough talent at Michigan where they could do that. They could just be like, okay, it's his turn because he's a senior and he's been here for 3 years. And then the next year it was this guy. So I just basically had to wait my turn, which nowadays is unheard of.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So, back in the day, we didn't hear players complaining that I'm not playing and all this stuff. Right now with social media and all these things that we hear these guys like, I'm trying to think who it was. He was a rookie in the NFL. He didn't get any playing time and he was complaining about it. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And even in college, you hear that all the time, right? These kids go as freshmen, they're not playing. I'm like, you're 18 playing against 23-year-old men. You need probably some time to grow. I mean, but for you, who did you have as a mentor, or somebody that you could lean on to say, it's going to be okay, your time's coming?
Well, it was normal. Like, so I didn't really need a mentor. Like everybody was like, oh, he's going to be good. And that was it. Oh, he might be an All-American one day. And I'm like, well, we got a game Sunday. Like, why not Sunday?
Right.
But,
so you had there were some pretty good other receivers in your room. Did you learn some from, like, did they have that same experience?
Yeah, most of them did. Like Derek Alexander was there when I was there, and he was great, man. He really taught me how to because I was so into it. Like you have to have a certain amount of relaxation to play well in sports, especially at a high level in college, because there's so much pressure on you to perform. And he just took everything really light and easy. And I would look at him like, oh my God, you're not like crying or like, you're not like getting upset because they're not putting you in the game. He's like, it'll all work out. Yeah. And then
that's kind of him, right?
He's like,
it'll be all right.
But he was great though. Like I needed that at that time. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to be this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to, and then it was just kind of like, take a step back, relax, because you need that on the field. Like there's some times where the stress gets really, really high, and you need to be able to take a step back and be like, okay, let me tone it down and not make this situation bigger than it is, and just play the game and revert back to your technique and not get too, don't let the outside stuff get too involved.
That had to be huge for you, because if Derek would have been a guy like, yeah, you should be playing, you know what I mean, saying all these things to you, it could have changed your experience there and changed your attitude with the coaches, right? Because
absolutely,
because if they see you as a complainer and things, those reps go down, I would say, even at Michigan.
And more so at Michigan, because there was a lot of guys that were good. Like, there wasn't a lot of guys that were like, exceptional, but there was a lot of guys that they were like, okay, let's just put them out here for 2 games. And, we're running the ball anyway. It's not going to really matter that much, unless we're playing one of these big games where we have to throw the ball. So it was just a difference that we were stacked. Like, my freshman year, our entire starting offense played in the NFL. Like, everyone, our whole offensive line.
Was that Hutch? Was Hutch on that? Steve Hutchinson, was he?
He was no. He was after.
He was after. Man, he was after. I thought Hutch was kind of around our age.
No, it was like we had Trezell Jenkins. Actually not all of them. Miller we had a guard named Miller. He didn't make the NFL.
No, don't single him out. He's going to be pissed.
No, but I mean him.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
But everybody else, we had Tony McGee, Derek Alexander.
Oh yeah.
We had Todd Collins, Kerry Collins. No, not Kerry Collins. Todd Collins, Elvis Gerbach. There were so many, and then Mercury Hayes played in the NFL.
Well, you kind of let's. I got we're going to put up a little trivia question for our fans here. Gunnar, can you put that up? All right, we're going to do a little countdown, but the question for everyone is, go ahead, Gunnar, run it. How many playoff TD? No, you got to go back one, Gunnar. Do we not have the quarterback question in there, Gunnar? I think you can find it. Let me see.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. So anybody, you can click on it if you're on here, and you can click on it and figure that out. But, there we go. I think people heard it, knew it. This is all new.
I gave it away.
How about this? We got a little trivia that the fans can come on and answer the question for the trivia question. But it's cool how we do that. So Todd Collins, I knew you were there with Elvis Gerbach. You also had Brian Greasy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Greasy threw you a long touchdown your senior year. He was only a freshman, right?
He was a freshman, but we had a guy named Scott Dreisbach who started that year, broke his thumb. He ended up going to the NFL too. He played for the Raiders for a couple of years. So every quarterback that ever threw me a pass in college all went to the NFL. Every single one of them. Yeah, it was crazy. It was the quarterback university. I mean, we had a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of receivers, and I don't know what happened to them now. I mean, it's
so what was your first year at Michigan?
92.
So Cam Cameron would have been the quarterback coach.
Cam Cameron was my quarterback coach.
So when I was getting recruited to college, he was at Michigan, and I thought I was going to go there.
Okay.
And they took Elvis Gerbach instead of me, and then I am going to Tulsa. Like, thanks, Cam. Then he became my quarterback coach in Washington.
I remember.
So every day I'd be like, thanks a lot. I mean, I could have went to Michigan. I'm playing in front of 5,000 instead of 100,000. I appreciate that. But
Gus,
hey,
do you remember that game that we had? We played you down in Washington in 1998.
I remember all the games. I had Strahan on, and I showed him the hit he had on me and I peed blood for like 4 days. From the
really?
Hit. Yes, and he's like, yeah, that was my favorite hit I ever had on a quarterback, Gus. I'm like, oh, come on, Michael, that wasn't good. But I mean, that's just part of it. We've had so many. Some of my favorite games were between us,
Yeah, that was the Washington Giants. I mean, that is basically everybody in the NFC East. All those games are like, you feel like you're not just playing, you're playing against all the ghosts. It's like you're playing against the history of the whole NFL. And plus, the NFC East is such an old. Go over there. You gotta go. Could you close the door, Viola? Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's just like that. Like RFK to me is still my favorite place ever to play, right? Because of what it felt like when you were in there. Hey, we got a question from Ari here. She wants to know if you can see that Amani mentioned that college athletes have to stay calm and relax. What are methods that you guys used? I can't imagine the anxiety. For me, You know, my dad was always in the back of my head saying, you know, get out there, do it, get up, do all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what did you use? You talked a little bit about relaxation and what you do. So how did you calm down in tense situations?
Well, you gotta, like, sometimes you can't think about how big the situation is. You gotta narrow it down to like the moment right now. You're like, okay, I'm facing this guy in front of me, nobody else. You know, I gotta beat this guy. I gotta do a move that I've done 100 times. By myself, and walking down the street. I gotta run this route this way. You can't worry about all the other stuff, and you just gotta be like, one thing that really gave me confidence was the amount of time that I put in. Right, so
Yeah.
So it was like rote memory, and I was like, you know what, I'm not scared to fail. I'm not scared to fail in sports. I'm scared that I didn't try hard enough and I didn't put in all the time,
Right.
because then the what ifs come in.
Oh yeah. The what ifs are the worst.
Yeah. So if I go out there and we lose the game, but I know that I did everything I could do and I did, that I could, hey, you're not going to win everything. But if I go into a game and we lose because of something that I overlooked, I didn't see the blitz coming, I let the quarterback get hit, he fumbled for a touchdown because I didn't study my, the defense, that's what gets you really upset. Getting beat athletically, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's going to happen less than it, the longer. Well, it definitely during my career, it happened less than less times I got beat athletically than I got beat mentally.
Yeah. So who was the one guy that you like? They always ask me who was the player that you hated going up against, and I always say, well, I played against all 11 guys. It wasn't like I was running a route, but you ran routes. Like, you had a study. You said, okay, we're playing the Skins this week, and I want to be covered by Darrell Green all day. Like, who was the guy for you that gave you the most, like, I got to really prepare. I got to get ready for this dude because he's one of the greatest.
Champ Bailey was a guy that I really just, I felt like I was up for the challenge. Like, those, I did well. I did my best against him, but that was one of the guys that I felt like, you know what, if I'm not on my game, I could get embarrassed. Yeah. So Champ Bailey was definitely one of them. There was a guy who played for the Cowboys. I think it was like Mario Edwards.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like, I'd watch him on film. The guy was slow. No disrespect. No disrespect. But like, if we got into a foot race, I definitely could outrun him. But there was something about the way he played me. And it brings me back to, like, and it was always a struggle between me and him. He was my size, but I always was quicker than guys who were my size. So I always felt like I had advantage. But for some reason, he was, he could slow me up and do some things that would bother me that I remember. But it was, it's like in boxing, everybody has their silver bullet, right? There's a silver bullet out there for everybody. And I'll never forget Mario Edwards, because he was the guy that was the toughest for me. And he was a guy that, for the most part was, not, thought upon as one of the better corners in the league.
Who did you always try to go against in practice? Because you guys had a heck of a defense.
I would go against Felipe Sparks was a guy I'd love to go against. We had Will Allen and Will Peterson. Those guys were really good. Jason Seahorn was a guy I loved to go against.
That's because his pants were always falling down.
Man, that guy, he was hilarious. The guy was the coolest. Like, he was unflappable. Like,
yeah,
we'd be doing one-on-ones and somebody would beat him, and he'd go, that's not a route. And you just walk back. Like, you catch the, they say, you catch a ball to the defensive back in one-on-ones, and they're supposed to run after you and catch you. And if you do a double move on him, our line would get there. No, and you just start walking back, and you'd be running, catching the ball. And it was hilarious. But he was one of the best athletic corners because he was big, fast. People sleep on his athletic ability. That guy was a great athlete.
Oh, of course. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys were full of great athletes, you included in that. So,
Thanks.
You had a lot of good experience in the playoffs. And, we have another trivia question. Gunnar, throw that up there in your playoffs. And I want to know Hey, Huddle Up with Gus listeners. Manscaped, they sent me, they hooked me up with a bunch of tools and formulations for their package 3.0 kit. So, I want to show you guys what's in the perfect package, right? We all think we got a perfect package, but they sent me the perfect package 3.0 kit. And I want to show you what they sent me. So it was crazy. It came in this great box, and you can see what it says. They will thank you because they send us this awesome trimmer. They sent us, stuff that makes you smell better. And then, they sent me this great, some boxers even, which you get, right? Protect them. And then, they sent me this cool sack, I guess you want to call it, to store all your stuff in. So it's been great. Manscaped sent me a bunch of product, and you can see it all on here. You can go to manscaped.com and put in the code Gus Frerotte, that's GUSFREROTTE, get 20% off and free shipping when you use that code. But you can get a kit, you can get individual items like this way cool groomer that has a little LED light, ceramic. These things come apart, they're waterproof, you can do a lot with them. So, Manscaped is great. It's funny. I remember when I was playing with the Denver Broncos, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a gentleman who was playing on our team. And, if he ever hears the story, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But he brought his own clippers in one time, and he used it to trim his beard up and his goatee and everything. And he had them there for about 2 or 3 weeks. And he goes in around the corner, he walks in, and there's another player that is actually manscaping with his beard trimmer. So, one of the things is you don't want to use the same trimmer down there that you use up here. So he kind of freaked out a little bit, and he said, "Hey, how long have you been using that tool there?" And he said, "Well, it showed up here about 3 weeks ago, and I've been using it ever since." So, there is a lesson learned that, don't leave things out. And probably if it would have just said Manscaped on it, we wouldn't have had that issue. But it's probably one of the funniest taking care of your balls stories I've ever heard or been around in the locker room in the NFL. So it's a great story. But I always said there was no way to know. There was no name on it. And the guy was just using it. And another guy was using it. It was not good. But it's a heck of a funny story. So one of the best I've ever heard in my 15 years playing in the league. But, there's so many great things about Manscaped and what they're doing. Because, guys, you got to take care of yourself. Even though I got gray hair and getting older, but you still have to maintain some sort of grooming, right? And so, we all work out. For me, I like working in my yard, doing those things now that I'm retired, getting a little sweat on and everything. You want to smell good. You got to take care of yourself. They got some great products. This one, a little ball deodorant. We all need that here and there. After, working in the yard, taking a hike, doing a walk, whatever you do. It's a great thing, but there's so many great products. I want to thank Manscaped for sending them to me. The Lawnmower 3.0, obviously you can use it anywhere in your body, but I'm sure you guys have all seen the commercials. But this is one just letting you know that the Lawnmower 3.0 comes with the perfect kit. You can buy the lawnmower by itself. You can buy all these products individually. They even sent me this wonderful shirt. You can see the back. Your balls will thank you. And then here's the front. So it's an awesome shirt. They have great gear. And you know what? Sometimes you can just sit back, take care of your balls a little bit, and read the paper. So I think Manscaped even has their own daily news, so which is great. So don't forget that you can go to the code Gus Farott, and that's GUSFREROTTE, and you can save 20% on any products. The perfect package gift set, and you can save 20% and get free shipping. So use the code Gus Farott, GUSFREROTTE. Hey, everybody spells my name wrong. They even spelled it wrong on the back of my Pro Bowl jersey. So, I gotta help you guys out. So don't forget how important it is that you use these products. Take care of yourself down below and have some fun. Right? There's nothing closer to you than your little buddies. So use the lawnmower, use the code Gus Farott, save 20% and get free shipping, and order some great Manscaped products. So is that right or wrong? That's what we got off the internet. So I wanted to know from you.
Oh, wait, I scored 3 in one game and 3 another year. I scored 1 another time.
Yeah, because you guys went to the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah.
Won it in 2007. You played the same Ravens team that I played when I was with the Broncos, and they were damn good.
Yeah.
And actually, when I look at our stats from the quarterbacks that year that played against that Raven team in 2000,
yeah,
I felt like I played so bad. I had the best stats of all the QBs in the playoffs
really
against them. Yes, because they who did they spank that year? They played us, the Broncos, and then they beat the Raiders.
Yeah,
because we were their first game, and then they played you guys in the Super Bowl, and all the quarterback. Yeah. I think Rich Gannon was playing for the Raiders.
Yes,
and they picked him off like 4 times. Didn't they? They picked Kerry off like 3 or 4 times or something in the Super Bowl. Yeah. They were good, man.
They were really good.
They didn't have to worry about like you were talking about Jason, like he'd say, "Oh, our line would get there." That's literally how they were that year. Like you had no time in the pocket.
Our coach, Jim Fossil, rest in peace. At the beginning of the game, like we had a whole game plan that we would run the entire year. We'd have the toss crack, we'd have all these different plays, we'd run the power and all this stuff. And then we got to the game and they're like, okay, we can't run half the stuff that we run because we can't move Saragusa, we can't move Sam Adams, and then the other guy was number 99. I can't remember the guy. He was one of these guys that was like one of these try-hard defensive end guys that was just ridiculous. I can't remember his name, but it's number 99. I remember that. And then they had Sharper, they had Ray Lewis, then they had, and their corners weren't great, but I mean,
no, but they sat on everything.
Yeah, because they knew you couldn't go deep on them.
Yeah, like there was no time in the pocket.
Yeah,
like it just collapsed on you, and I definitely wasn't like the 3 quarterbacks they faced that year. None of us were like, maybe Rich Gannon was the best scrambler out of all of us.
Yeah.
None of us were moving out of that pocket. Like Kerry and I definitely weren't moving out of the pocket.
No. And I do you think there's going to be, you think you look at college and they don't even have pro style quarterbacks. Like all these guys can run, all of them. And it's just too hard to develop offensive linemen, that can really hold up.
Well, I think that the NFL went the college route instead of the college route going the NFL route.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they figured that they've seen all these guys. They didn't have enough players being prepared to, pull. Like the Ravens are like one of the only teams I watch that can run the ball like old days, right? But still they're in shotgun every play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then every college game is always shotgun.
Yeah.
And so the NFL went towards more of the college atmosphere, which is great because they want to score more points and they want to, get more receptions and higher, all those things that we talked about earlier. And I just think that, when we played, we didn't, it was about staying in the pocket. It was about throwing the ball on time. I mean, I couldn't imagine as a receiver when your quarterback scrambles every other play, how hard that is for you.
Oh man, I remember watching film on Mike Vick, and I was like, wow, he is unbelievable. I would not want to play for him. No way.
There's no route running.
Because you work on route running, and it's route running and timing. And you come out of your break and you're looking for the ball. Now you're coming out of your break and you're seeing the quarterback running by you. You're like, great, but man, I mean, can I do a little something out here too? You know what I mean? Like I want to participate. This is what I've been practicing all week, and I've been working on these routes all year, and working my techniques and all that stuff. I mean, I think it'd be very tough, but I think I just don't know how you can be a consistent wide receiver nowadays unless you're playing for a drop back passer like Tom Brady. And the funny thing about it is, like, you look at Tom Brady, he's getting the ball up on time.
Oh, always.
I always look. I remember you can't sit there and pat the ball. Like if I ever see a quarterback sitting there patting the ball, I'm like, he doesn't know where he's going with the ball. You got to know 2 steps ahead. I mean, you got to know 2 steps ahead. And if you're sitting there with the ball, hitting like this,
you're not getting out. Like you got to know your whole offense, like every play where I'm going, and then B, that changes every time the defense changes, right? So
absolutely.
One play could be like 5 different plays, basically.
Absolutely.
Because it's going somewhere different. And all these coaches want to put all these amazing things in, right? Like they're designing all these incredible things when in reality, look, coach, if they play 4 different coverages, if they play 0, 8, cover 3, cover 1, and cover 2, we can run the same play. It's going to somebody different every time.
Yeah.
Right. If I got man with you and you're supposed to run whatever and it turns into a go route, well, yeah, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Sometimes I think coaches want to make it way too hard.
I 100% agree with you, Gus. And a lot of it is because how do you get promoted to be a head coach in the NFL as an offensive coordinator? You don't get promoted by giving the ball to to Henry.
Yeah.
You don't do that. That's not how you get, like, if you want to get promoted, not Anthony, Big Henry from the Titans.
Yeah, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, sorry. You don't get promoted. You get promoted if you're an offensive coordinator like the dude in like McVay, throwing the ball all over the field and getting these cute little plays, and like that dude Moore, Kellen Moore for the Cowboys. Oh, he's going to get a head coaching job. The play that he had where he had Zeke run in and he did a fake toss sweep.
Oh, yeah, like that.
Yeah, that was a great play.
I love that play, yeah.
That was a great play. But you know what? Like, there's so much window dressing on football nowadays. It's hilarious. And these offensive coordinators are taking the game away from the players, and they're just making it like, oh, well, it's because of my genius play. I call the, annexation of Puerto Rico, those type of plays. You know what I mean? It's like the reason why all these players are in the NFL is because they can play above the X's and O's. If you can only play with the X's and O's, you're not going to make the NFL. So I just feel, I see the fact that all these guys just, it's very, everybody's really trying to elevate themselves at the expense of everybody,
Do you think that when you watch receivers, because obviously that's what you were, and I watch quarterbacks, and if there's too much on their plate, you can almost see them thinking when they're running routes or trying to go through a read or whatever they're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like they're just not playing.
No, they're not playing. And what I talk about is, everybody can go up on a board when they're sitting down. They have like a little coffee in front of them, maybe, and they're in their meeting rooms and everything's warm and fuzzy, and they'll get up there and they'll explain to you the whole offense. But now get them on a treadmill and have them run for do a couple 400s on a treadmill and then test them. That's what it is. It's like you're not in the right frame of mind to think. Like I always tell people, they're like, oh, how do they not know what they're doing? I'll say it's like taking a test in college, but now all of a sudden you're taking a test while you're running, right? And you're taking a test while people are trying to, knock you all, knock the pencil out of your hand. And so it's you have to know it at such a deeper level than just kind of, it has to be more than just memory. It has to be like ingrained in you, like reactions. And that takes a lot of time. And it takes a lot of like effort and time. And
Well, I always say with these, like you see quarterbacks go through 7-on-7 and they were like perfect. And that, then they get in the game and, they can't do anything. And it's like, that's not real. I mean, it is like to a point where you have to learn the routes and learn your reads, but it's not the same as if a, guy gets beat off the edge and you got to step up and then get rid of the ball and do all these different things. It's definitely not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so like if you look at football, it's not super difficult. Like there's very few things you can do. Right. But the mental aspect of it, it's like, especially like the tough, I think that what people underestimate is the toughness that you have to be a football player. Like, I don't care if they say they can't hit you in the head or whatever, that you have to run across the middle. And there's some dudes twice your size that are just, I don't care how they take you down. I don't care if they take you down from your waist or whatever. It's going to hurt.
It always
You're
hurts.
You're going to feel that in the morning.
Yeah. And there's definitely ones that are worse than others.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, it looks like we got a question for you from Jake. Jake wants to know what QB would you want to play for that tosses the pill around now?
I mean, I'm telling that kid out of with the Chargers, LA.
Yeah.
Man, I watch him and I'm just like, oh my God. Because I was at the combines with them because I was with them with Allen. Allen's another guy. Like, there's so many guys right now. The quarterback talent in the NFL now is it's at this one of these all-time levels. Like, they got great quarterbacks, great quarterbacks.
Young. So you won a Super Bowl in 2007. I think it was your 13th year?
Yeah, my 12th year.
12th year.
Yeah.
That had to be amazing because you played for what? You didn't want to be in the Midwest again anyway. Not after.
No, I really didn't. But I pulled my hamstring in training camp, and I was 35, and I pulled the hamstring in training camp, and I'm like, you know what? This probably. I mean, I felt like I proved what I needed to prove to myself that I could still play.
Yeah.
But
I'll never forget when I was 38 and with the Vikings, and like the other two quarterbacks are both like 23, and I'm running sprints with them, and I've been, got the shit kicked out of me for 15 years. It's like, you want me to run the same as them?
Gus, how did you deal with you're 38, right? Right? You say you're 38?
My last year.
Yeah. So you going in the locker room, right? They're listening to all kinds of crazy music. They're talking about all kinds of weird jokes. Was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
It was a culture shock.
Well, when you're 38 and you're the oldest guy in the locker room, you get to play the music you want in the locker room, in the weight room. And it took me 15 years to get there, right? So I'd go in the weight room and everybody would be listening to whatever they wanted. I'd walk in and I had my little red iPod and I'd put all my favorite music on, like Foo Fighters and all these other guys, right? And I listened to all kind of music. I had a good mix in there. But the guys, as soon as I'd walk in, they'd all be like, and they're like, I lifted at different times all the time, so they never knew when I was coming in, just so I could do that to them, so they could,
That's great.
It was just the best to see them like, oh, I got to lift to this stuff, and I'm like, yes, you do. I finally, after 15 years, get to play what I want to play, but
That's
it is.
Great.
I think my kids, kind of being a little older, and they weren't that. I mean, they're in their kind of mid-20s now.
Yeah.
But then it kept me young kind of mentally and understanding what culture was going on. And so I could relate to a lot of people. Now, they always called me the old guy. You start getting gray hair, you're gonna be the old guy in the locker room. That's just how it was. Their Gunner was look, my son calls me a geezer. So thanks a lot, Gunner. So you've had this great career. You transition, you leave the NFL, you retire. It's always a hard transition. And I saw you ran a marathon.
Yeah.
What was that like? You really want to always run a marathon?
No, I was doing nothing. I was just sitting around getting fat, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And it's funny because everybody's like, "Oh, you're gonna go broke" and all this stuff, and I'm like, I wasn't worried about going broke. I was worrying about what's going to be my next game day? Like, I wanted another game day. I wanted another opportunity to like do something, right? So I had an opportunity to do something when Timex came around, and they're like, look, we want to get a guy to run the marathon. And I'm like, boom, sign me up. I'm doing it. You know, so I trained for it for six months. It was great. Right. It got me back out of the house. I lost a lot of weight. It was just fun. It was fun, like to train again. And this time to train more for enjoyment than train for like, oh man, Ray Lewis is coming after me. I got to get ready. Or, you know, I'm dealing with Darrell Reeves. He's coming after me. I got to make, you know, it was just kind of like I did it for enjoyment. And then it kind of sparked they sparked the fitness aspect of my life that I now kind of kept going with.
Did it give you like, hey, there's life after football kind of feeling too?
Yeah, like I was kind of lost there for like a year. Just kind of I sat around, waited because I thought I might get picked up, and you know to do my 14th year, and I was just kind of like at the end, I'm like, you know, you've been doing football and sports your entire life, man. It's time to grow up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. What was the hardest mile? Like what mile where you were like, oh man.
21. I was
21?
Like, yeah, I was like, wow, this is real. And I was on a clip. I wanted to go under in the threes. Like I want to go under 4 hours in the threes. And
jeez. What's that average a mile?
I think it was like 7 something, maybe 8.
Yeah, and
8. Yeah, 8 something.
That's pretty amazing.
That was fast. But I ended up doing it in 4 hours and 13 minutes, which was like a 9:30, which was not what I wanted to do. But you know, like I said, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of failing.
More than a lot of people can say. Like after your career and all the bumps and bruises you had and everything, you ran a marathon. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. You were like one of these linemen that are like 350 pounds, and then you have to go out and lose weight so you run marathons.
Yeah, well, I didn't get 300, but
I'm just saying. But like, they always leave. Like all the linemen always leave the NFL, then they all get super skinny, like by running.
It's amazing, man. There's a guy on our team, Chris Sneed.
You're right.
He was a 300-pound guard, right? Now he's like a 200 and maybe 20 pounds, 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Lean. Like he looks like he was a wide receiver, and I look like I was probably like maybe a linebacker.
Matt Burke was the same way, right? Matt and I played together a bunch, and you know, he was 315 pounds when we played. Now he's like 210. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
What?
Yeah.
I would say, go ahead.
I was like, don't you want to like eat? He goes, I ate enough for so many people. I don't want to eat anymore.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because like a lot of these guys had to eat. Like I remember there's guys on our team that had to wake up at night and eat just to keep the weight on.
Oh yeah.
They'd wake up at night, slam like a protein shake and go back to sleep. So maybe it's a little easier for them because they had to try and most of them had to try and keep their weight up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. So what are you doing today? So tell me a little bit about what you're doing today in your life.
Well, I'm trying to start a whole bunch of businesses. I've been an investor in the cannabis business for a while. That's something that I really enjoy doing. It's fun. It's like one of these growth industries that are just kind of coming around, and everything's starting to come around with that. So I'm really excited about that.
Are you on the growing side of that, or which part did you like?
I have
because there's stores, there's the growing, there's the where they grow all the facilities.
I have I have a couple licenses that I've invested in. One license is in Las Vegas, another license is in South Jersey, and then there's another part of something I've gotten into in Colorado.
Yeah, so Colorado. And you should go back home. That's huge.
Yeah, but see, the thing about California is like you can't come to California half-stepping. You know what I mean? You like so. I want to when I come back to California to try and get into the cannabis game, I better come correct, or they'll boot you out real quick in California. They're not playing.
Where else is really growing? It's huge. Is Canada?
Oh yeah, Canada's big. You know, there's other places abroad that have some opportunities that I might try and go and in Europe some places, but. Yeah, it's just fun. It's really fun. Like I could have done real estate and just been, landlord and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, you want to enjoy things, right? And I want to enjoy this business. And I just like being a part of the ground, the ground floor of this thing.
Yeah, you seem to have like a big entrepreneurial spirit. Like you like to start things up and get them moving. Tell me about your company CEO.
Yeah, CEO is a company that we want to. It's a non-for-profit that we want to. Me and my business partner Todd Johnson, we want to really get really help some underserved communities with community exposure to opportunity. We want to give opportunity, like STEM programs, and we want to start some things like that in local New Jersey area and some of these underserved communities. And it's a dream right now. And we got the 501c, we got everything. We had a golf event that we were a part of recently, and now we're just trying to to get the business that we're going in terms of trying to cannabis business. We're trying to get that up and running so that we can fund this and really try and make a excise difference in some underserved communities that have don't have the exposure to what most kids that grew up in these suburb areas that are exposed to successful people. They're so exposed to people that aren't just entertainers and athletes. They're exposed to all different walks of life because there's so much around this area in the New York City metropolitan area that there's so many ways to be successful. And I just wanted to make sure that people understand that there's a lot of opportunity out here.
Yeah, like when I talked to Santana Moss about, I don't know, maybe a year ago, he had a podcast in DC, and he was talking about when he grew up in Miami. He said, they only told me one thing ever, because he said, I grew up in the hood. They only told me one thing ever, was that I had to play football to get out of here. And he said, now I realize that there's so much else. Like I could have been a coach. I could have been a marketing person. There's all these other things. Like they never told me this stuff. And so I just focused on that one thing. And I said, and I think that's great what you're doing, because kids need to understand that there's, like you said, there's opportunities out there.
Everywhere. I mean, you look at it, go in your house. Yeah, food. You could be in food. You could be in,
technology,
electronics, TV. Yeah, there's so many things that are, just in my neighborhood. We have a guy who owns a whole bunch of Popeyes chickens. We have a guy who works for Sony. We have another guy who starts his own bit. Like, it's just this area that I live in. There's so many people doing so many different things, and everybody comes together. And I just love the energy out here, and that's why I stayed in New York and I didn't leave and go back to California, because everybody's really into furthering themselves and starting businesses.
I'll connect you with my really good friend Justin Aglio. He has a Penn State Readiness Institute. And I know that's a rival for you in the Big Ten school, but he works with them. He didn't go to Penn State, but he works with them. And he is actually working with like Mark Cuban and a bunch of people. And he teaches kids from underserved areas like you. He actually brings them in and gets them ready for life besides what they teach you in high school. And he does a great job. So I'll connect you guys through email, because I think that it was somebody you'd love to. He's raised a bunch of money. He knows how to do it, if you know what I'm saying. That's great.
Yeah. We can use all that. But
that would be great. Hey, I know you spent some time with me today here on Huddle Up with Gus, and I appreciate you coming in and trying out this new platform. Super. This is just not your normal podcast. We get to bring our fans on and everybody on to partner. I don't know if anybody's out there that wants to come on live that I could just actually show you like a meet and greet before you go. If somebody
there's a lot of people on here, huh?
Yeah, if somebody wants to come claim a spot and you want to come on and say hi to Amani, feel free to turn your camera on so we can at least see how it goes. I don't know who anybody want to do it. Come on up and show your face. But it's really cool because we actually, here, I'll show you this too, Amani. We can actually bring a fan on and take a selfie. So if anybody wants to come, we could take a selfie. Cool. So it's really cool what they're doing. This is a great platform. Super's doing a really good job. And here, I'll just take one. And what it does, it goes right back to their thing, and then you have a picture of us. Not that anybody wants a picture of me, but I know they want a picture of you. But hey, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, sharing a lot of good stories about the NFL. And you just seem to have a great personality, a great entrepreneurial spirit, and I know. I think my nephew's on here, and I think he loves the cannabis conversation.
Yeah, no, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I just, it really teaches you a lot about business. I wish I would have went to business school because I'm learning a lot of stuff on the road that I probably should have learned any other way. But I don't know. It's just fun.
I see you going to Harvard Business School and getting your MBA in the future, so you can do all this. Like, if you have the time. Oh, and one last thing before you go, if you don't mind me, one more question.
Yeah.
Your uncle is George Wallace?
Yeah.
The comedian?
Yeah. My family, it's the weirdest thing. Like, I have so many successful people in my family. It's not like I have a cousin that flies F-16 jets. Like, I didn't even, it's one of these things where our family is so scattered that it's hard to like kind of get everybody together. But once you get everybody together, you start seeing like all the success stories. I mean, my mother moved out to San Francisco because she was programming missiles for Lockheed. So it's like we have all this, like,
you got all this. And did your dad cry just a little bit when you went to Michigan?
I don't know. Like, I don't think he had much. I don't think he had a good time at Ohio State. I don't think
really?
He ever even
because I know
about
he went to Ohio State. I didn't know if like he was like, man, he probably was like, yeah, you probably should go to that team up north.
Yeah, no, he doesn't really talk about it, but he never really spoke about it at all. But I think he just wanted me to go to college for free, basically.
Yeah, I hear you. All our dads did. They were really happy with that. But
Absolutely.
Hey, man, I appreciate you joining me. It was great getting to meet you finally. I know we played against each other, seen each other on the field
many times. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and tell your daughter we said hi. You should have just brought her on camera.
I should have, but you know what? She was coming over because she's done that before. Like
she knows.
She was trying to get in, but I was like, you know what? This is the first time I'm on here. Let me just,
Yeah, that's all right, man. We'll do it again. But hopefully you and I can start something great in the future. We'll see.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I think it'll be wonderful. All right, Amani. Thanks for joining me on Huddle Up with Gus. Have a great night, my man.
Hey, thanks a lot, Gus.
All right, see you.
See you later.
That's a wrap, sports fans. Thanks for joining in the fun at the 1631 Digital Studios for another action-packed Huddle Up with Gus, featuring 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte. Huddle Up with Gus is proudly produced by 1631 Digital Media and is available on Apple Music.